Speaker tonight is Michael Knox, and Michael earned his PhD in psychology from the University of Michigan in 1974. He's currently a distinguished professor of mental health law, medicine, and global health at the University of South Florida. This is unbelievable to me, but he has 125 scholarly publications. That's impressive for certain. And he's been responsible for more than $50 million in research grants to USF. So we need to have Michael on our fundraising committee. Michael founded the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, and he's been awarded prizes for that. But he is a very impressive person. He's who's who in the world, who's who in America, who's who in science and engineering, who's who in healthcare and medicine, and who's who in American education. Believe me, in my wildest dreams, I could never have those kind of qualifications and backgrounds. So let's give a big hand and welcome Michael Knox.
Thank you.
One more.
One more.
Bring this up here. Thank you very much, Gene, and Florida Veterans for Common Sense and the Southwest Coalition.
Southwest Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice.
Excellent, excellent. Appreciate being here, and since USF was mentioned in the introduction, I have to start with a disclaimer that nothing that I say here today represents the University of South Florida, its faculty, its trustees, its president, the Board of Regents of the state, Charlie Crist, the state legislature, or anyone else except myself. And although I'm going to be talking a bit about the U.S. Peace Memorial Foundation, which I chair, I also should make it clear that I'm not speaking for that foundation either. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit public charity, and we don't get into politics. And sometimes people ask me questions and I might go off in a political tangent. I hope I don't, but I'm representing only myself today. I'm here with some trepidation because I've never, as far as I know, spoken to an audience that included veterans, and I know that we've had some misunderstandings with some veterans who felt that what we were proposing to do in some way degraded the veterans, and that's not anything that we mean to do. We understand the contribution that soldiers make and the sacrifice the veterans have made, and we're talking about the other side of the picture. We're talking about recognizing people who have spoken out against war. Since the end of World War II, the United States has invaded 24 different countries, some more than once. If you believe that all 24 of those invasions were justified, then you probably will be uncomfortable with what I have to say today. If you think that people who spoke out against one of those wars, one or more of those wars, is a traitor or unpatriotic or un-American or anti-military, then you probably won't be comfortable with what I say. So this is kind of my viewer discretion presentation, because I don't want to make anyone feel comfortable. I'm not going to talk about the contributions of veterans. I'm going to talk about the contributions of people who have spoken out actively against one or more U.S. wars.
But that includes veterans, of course.
And oh, absolutely, good point. It does include many veterans, and I should say that 2/3 of the members of our board of directors are veterans, and many of our founding members are veterans. In fact, we're honored to have one of our founding members, Dr. Larry Ritt, here in the audience today. So we're not a group of pacifists. Most of us represent or recognize that there can be just wars. I haven't spoken to everyone that's a founding member, but many have supported U.S. wars. But they might find one or more of them to be something that is not appropriate, that should be argued against. And we believe that both sides need to be heard, and that the people that speak out against war, are not traitors or anti-American. So, again, this is kind of a one-sided presentation, but the U.S. honors its military
and reinforces warrior behavior with monuments to wartime presidents, memorials to wars.
See, I think his mic went off.
No.
Okay.
What happened was it dropped down, moves. That's it. That's better.
So if you go to Washington, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
The monuments there are monuments to wartime presidents, to wars, to those who served in wars, sacrificed in wars, died in wars. And you've all visited these monuments. Many of you have served in these wars and know how important it is to have monuments of this sort. Those in serve in war are also reinforced with medals and promotions and ceremonies. It's hard to hear any president of the United States talk about those who have served in the military without calling them heroes, the best that this country has to offer. And so there's much adulation and praise for those in the military. Children are taught that soldiers are heroes and role models for them. This is a poster that I flipped a picture of with my cell phone camera in a metro car in Washington, D.C. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. Can't see you.
This is a Lupus Foundation poster. If you can't see, you might move up here. But the implication here is that this little boy is fighting against lupus at this point, but one day he will fight for his country. And that's part of the message. Many believe that you earn the peace by winning the war. And most peace memorials in Washington and in major cities are actually monuments or memorials to war and to wartime dead. There are few indications in our public spaces that American society values those who oppose U.S. war. This has resulted in a country that recognizes contributions to war, but often holds in derision those who call for peaceful alternatives to war. Many of you in this room have spoken out against war, and I was wondering, maybe without hearing a long story, but just a couple words, maybe you could describe consequences that might have happened to you or someone that you know when you spoke out against the war. Maybe you lost a friend who doesn't want you to be a friend anymore. Maybe you were tear gassed. Are there things like that you'd like to share? Consequences of speaking out against war? Yes, ma'am.
Last month on tax day with all the teabaggers that were out saying end war, well, I put my car in park and I stood up to the roof and I said, end the wars. And I was called unpatriotic and all sorts of other curse words.
So name calling.
And yeah, and you can't, my point was how can you end taxes and still keep on funding a war?
Well, yeah, wars are expensive. And so name calling is one. Other experiences? Yes, Harvey.
Thanks. I was supposed to speak at an event at Bay Haven Elementary School here in town. And Bay Haven had a teacher who wanted to have part of what went on Veterans Day be involved in peace and to honor peacemakers, including folks who were objectors.
Yes.
And to make a long story short, Rush Limbaugh, anybody remember this? Got
yeah.
hold of the idea and made a big deal out of it around nationwide. And so we never had that speech.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, somebody was supposed to be here tonight. Jay Alexander showed up, and they wouldn't let him in the place. It was soft.
Yeah.
So that was
They said the piece was too political.
Yeah,
The
peace
stuff
was
that
too political.
Political.
Okay. So we don't. Yeah. Anything else you want to share?
Well, this isn't anything, but it just shows a cultural feeling. I attended a Bible study yesterday, and these people are close to my heart. That with our thoughts and feelings and everything, Episcopal Church. And I said, I'm going to this meeting tonight, and they said, oh, war is inevitable. There will always be war. It goes back to the Bible. When those twins, one killed the other,